So welcome to the Post-Mortem episode for Season 5. If this is your first time, I solicited questions from our audience. We're going to answer them, and then the season's over. Pretty simple. Any questions?
Nope, no questions. Season done.
Does the fact that this is the last episode of the season mean that, like, when we finish recording this episode, all of those characters are dead forever and can never come back?
Yeah, I personally kill each character off screen as soon as we stop recording with a knife.
Oh my god, why?
so that they can't accidentally come back and fuck up the
Is this
plot.
cathartic for you? Is that what it is?
So I'm ready for the first question. I hope you are too.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First one, no particular order. Twitter's algorithm decides how these are served to me. Cinnamon Bun at Cinnamon Butt on Twitter asks.
Sorry, it's just very delightful.
Our audience kicks ass. There's gonna be a lot of good names. Asks, why the fuck didn't you go to the Aboleth? I am so mad.
Yeah, that's my first question too, actually.
I voted
Here's
Aboleth.
two things. One, it could have totally fucked us over if we'd screwed up, and we have a habit of screwing up. And B, what would have happened if we didn't go to the sun? We wouldn't have found out about our friend being the Mothman, and that's the best plot line.
We wouldn't have had a sun gun. I mean,
Yeah, we wouldn't have had a sun gun.
That's true.
but I was very curious about the Aboleth.
We should have gone back on a fucking downtime scene.
I didn't want to deal with an Aboleth, but I was very curious to know what that direction of the story would have been. What that
Yeah,
branch
that would have been fantastic, but also I wanted to not have the party wiped halfway through the season.
Yeah.
right.
I wanted to live, but also everyone knows I do really love some ancient evils, you know.
Yeah, it won't be anytime soon, but I assure you, this is not the last we've heard of the Aboleth. They are a very important creature thing to the story of D&D, to the point where there's a spin-off of D&D called Pathfinder, which has very similar lore, but they've changed a couple of things. One of which is that the Aboleth are basically behind everything. That's like the joke, is that like any intrigue in the world, any machinations, any puppet masters, it's always the Aboleth, to the point where they had like a company-wide memo. It was like, please stop making the Aboleths behind everything. It's like really predictable now.
Like lizard men?
Yeah, kind of like our version of the lizard men pulling the strings, except the Aboleth are so old, they predate the gods. As people always ask, like, oh, the gods died, doesn't that mean like everything stops working? And the gods only existed for a geological blink. The Aboleth were there when they were born, and they were there when they died, and they'll be there long after. So
Does the Aboleth count as a god, and do I have to kill it?
I think you have to look inside your heart to find that answer.
All right, I'll think deeply about it.
I think you missed your opportunity to kill it, and that was partway through this
He
season.
said we'd see it again. I'll get my vengeance.
Okay, your vengeance on them for existing.
I don't know what's wrong with me.
So what's the next question here? I think this one's for Chris. Carbax Reltnark at darkkent_r on Twitter asks, how dare you kill Ambassador Respect?
You made the death cannon that aimed at Solitaire and then didn't create enough cool Solitaire characters that someone meaningful had to die that wasn't Ambassador Respect.
Y'all are complicit together.
So it's my fault.
Austin asked you, and you said he should die.
Nah, someone significant had to die there. There is no other significant Solitaire in the Solitaire government that we knew of. It was necessary. Mm-hmm. It's a wound that gapes open in my heart, an abyss that gnaws away at me as I sleep, and it's something I'm gonna have to live with.
So it's the party's fault for not having gotten more involved in the bureaucratic day-to-day operations of the Sol government.
Yeah.
I've never done anything wrong, so.
Next time someone needs to get an internship, clerkship, and just really get into the bureaucracy over there. I admire Chris greatly for his ability to just do what needs to be done, narratively speaking. I often feel like I pull my punches too much. A good example near the end there was when I talked myself into not killing Laura's dragon.
Yeah.
That she summoned
Yeah.
against the rules.
Let's ignore the fact it was against the rules. I totally think you should have killed it.
I know. I always find myself thinking like, well, maybe I can turn this in the player's favor. Chris is just like, listen, fuck you.
I'll put it this way, Austin, particularly toward the end of the season. I would love to have my character die a heroic death and be a martyr, because that's always the character that, like, you know, when the season's over, everyone fucking loves, is the character that dies in the, you know, in the final couple of episodes. So, like, don't hold your punches.
Yeah, Dr. Adler's approval ratings doubled after her death.
Yeah.
We made her a martyr. So next question. A lot of these are going to be accusatory, I feel.
Oh, that's so fun, though.
Yeah. Philip K. Thick. Fuck. That's so good. Philip K. Thick, at Nameless Wretch on Twitter asks, I want excruciating detail on the Illithid homeworld and also the Aboleth quest, which we touched on. So the Illithid are one of the most popular, iconic D&D things. They're going to be, I guess, the major antagonist in the next D&D game, Baldur's Gate 3, which was revealed like literally 2 weeks ago as of this recording. So partly I was working off the fact that there should be familiar to most characters. So it's also like why we use, you know, elves and dwarves, because they carry a certain cachet with the audience where you don't need to lay that groundwork. I do agree it would have been interesting to see the far realm where they live, but I think you recruited most of the reasonable Illithids we were going to see. Most of the rest of them would have just been like, exterminate, because that's really their role in the lore. Does anybody have any thoughts about how the Illithids were handled? Lauren, you're the Illithid specialist.
I've always loved you since season 3, you know, I love those squid boys. I'm fine with it because I had 2 Illithid sons that are very strong and love me very much, so, like, I'm fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, all the other Illithids can suck it.
Yeah, I like that we had enough friendship with the Illithids that we had on the team that we were able to, like, work towards a goal and not just have the Illithid war be an eternally going on thing. Like, I'm glad that we made some headway on that even if we didn't necessarily go to the Illithid homeworld and go, hooray, we convinced everyone to be on board with our hive mind plan.
Well, and I think it's interesting to have the Illithid presented as something other than just a devouring force.
Mm.
Because a lot of interpretation, you know, of Illithid present them as mindless beings, which they're not.
Yeah. You know what convinced me to give them a chance this season? It was Austin's inclusion of one in season 3 of Dice Funk, who was someone we had to break out of a prison and we had lots of interaction with because we were trapped in a town with them. And that gave some really interesting context and said, like, oh, okay, no, like, Austin wants to do something more interesting with the Illithids, which is why I didn't just assume the whole species were devourers and that was it.
How'd you like that foreshadowing with the time tech that he had, though? That dagger milk shit he had in season 3. What up?
Austin, you are too good at stories.
So yeah, I think if we would have went to the Illithid homeworld, it would have been like the end of Half-Life, where you're like, I guess this is a cool change of pace, but also I don't have any frame of reference for all this weird shit, and they just want to kill me, so it's not really adding a lot of nuance. We could have made it work. We're smart, but I think the choices you made ultimately were very satisfying, and they would have had to been traded off. So,
well, also I think it's pretty funny that, like, that all kind of came down to me rolling insight poorly.
Oh, on Objectivist?
Yeah.
I talked about this before, but sometimes I run combat encounters with real people just to check my math and stuff, because I do a lot of custom work on the encounters.
I'm a real person.
Huh?
I'm a real person.
I'm in
Fucking got him.
in meat space with people sitting at a table with me. And when I did that first mission with Objectivist and Courage, because these people understand D&D the way it's usually played, not on a podcast, they didn't trust Courage or Objectivist and killed both, because they're monsters. They give XP when I hit them, right? Like, they're full of gold and points that I love.
We definitely don't play D&D the way that the rule book would lead you to believe it should be played. We want to be horny and we want to make friends.
But yeah, so I feel like Lauren choosing to befriend Objectivist changed so much. And in hindsight, it should be so obvious that if you give a tiny thing to Lauren, she's going to love it. But when I made it, I was like, oh, this is a really interesting choice. Do you trust this alien who's trying to feed you to animals, or this assassin who has like a mysterious background? And like, it's such a cool dynamic thing in my head. And when we get there, Lauren's like, which one's cute?
That's so me.
So next question, Paco at Paco, and then a bunch of numbers 98765432210. Oh, it's just counting down. I'm dumb. Asks, did you go harder on the players because of their success in securing allies? I assume that's about the HMS Civilization and those death lasers at the end. No, in fact, it was much easier for them because they had so many targets. If they only had like 3 allies, then that's a 33% chance that any given person's going to die. With 10, I mean, there's only a 10% chance Objectivist is going to get hit, and even then, only so much that he's going to die from it. So
What you're saying is that the way to have not lost anyone in the final battle is to only recruit the dragons that can take a big hit and that will recover fine, and to not make friends with anyone squishy.
I mean, I'm not saying that explicitly, but the more meat shields you have, the better mathematical chance your most favorite characters survive.
We would like you to join our crew, but we don't have a good tough to squishy ratio right now, so sorry.
But yeah, it was a big war, and I wanted it to feel like it had real consequences. I'm reminded of the recent Magic the Gathering arc, the War of the Spark, and where a lot of people were disappointed. You're like, this is supposed to be like the war to end all wars, and like one named character died. So I had that kind of in the back of my mind, thinking here, like, if these things kill billions of people and devastate multiple planets and like no one you know dies, it kind of feels like a Saturday morning cartoon. So I had to go a little hard, but you guys played so well that it barely affected. I mean, we love Ambassador Respect and we treasure him, but
He can suck a dick.
it could have been worse.
Damn. Throwing shade, though, at Dak Faden and Domri, man. All right. One important character, whatever.
I forgot about that.
I was ready and braced for character death in the finale. I thought it was coming.
Dak Faden didn't even get a card.
He had them in conspiracy.
Nerds, stop!
Sorry, Lauren.
I was ready for the captain to go down with the ship.
Oh, dang. I mean, Big Star almost fucking did. Can we recap real quick that fight? So he went down. I stuck the machete in his chest. That's 2 saving throws, which means on the next turn, which was Dregs, at the end of his turn, I could have legendary action to stab Big Star again, and he's dead, even with the captain's healing spirit. But it's because Dreg used Lay on Hands, he came up immediately. But like, I was really thinking like the correct tactical move is to kill Big Star. If Dreg would have just let it happen, even with Captain Melbeck's intervention. And I seriously considered it ultimately didn't matter because Dreg laid on hands, but Big Star came as close as a person can come to dying.
Yeah, no, like, it totally would have been the right tactical move to have been made, and it would have been narratively satisfying.
But Dreg wouldn't have allowed it to happen, so...
No, of course not. None of our crew would. We all loved each other.
Let's see here. Vin Yost at Vin Yost on Twitter asks, what was the most interesting thing you each did to try and create the world of your character and their backstories?
I watch a lot of BuzzFeed Unsolved, and they just had a Mothman episode, and I was like, I love Mothman.
The one with the statue with the Mothman butt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then I was like, Bird? Why not?
That's your process.
I
That's pretty
honestly...
much my process.
I came around to my character largely because I wanted an excuse to use a character voice. It had the sort of the drunk sherry. I refer to it as the sherry lady voice. It was a voice I used to use with my fiance, where we would pretend to be 2 drunk old ladies, and I wanted an excuse to make that into a character. I liked the idea of someone that it would sort of clash with, where it wouldn't seem like the kind of voice that would come out of them. So GIF, you typically expect to have sort of lower pitched voices. And I honestly just sort of built it out from there. I wanted to play a different kind of character that wasn't a spellcaster for a season, because I always play spellcasters. So once I had this sort of colonialist, drunk hippo, bounty hunter just seemed like the sensible choice for them. Drinking people under the table made sense for how she's getting her information. That was where it came from. It all sparked from a voice that I wanted an excuse to use.
I think the main thing I guess that I can go back to is I when I create my characters, I generally try to create like somewhere between like 2 to 3 NPCs who are significant to their backstory, and I try to change up like the levels to which those characters have a relationship with my character. So like last season I had a parental figure who was this negative influence and a best friend who's a good one, and then with this season with Olivia I was like, I want a villain I told Austin, I want a villain who has like a personal history with my character. and did not expect that it would end up being the final antagonist of the season or anything like that. But that was sort of the large basis of how I built Olivia. Is I wanted a backstory that would leave her to have some relationship with a villain who could still be a presence in her life into the story itself.
And so the most popular, beloved villain in Dice Funk history, the credit goes to Chris. It's fine.
God damn it, no.
I'm not bitter. It's fine.
No, it's me. Everyone can suck my dick. I killed all the gods.
And I like how I gave him his name, and Austin still found a way to tie it into his nerdy fucking baby convention.
I win.
Well, good luck with it next season, Austin.
Yeah, Chris is coming out guns blazing. You guys don't even have any idea. I've looked at the character sheets. I think Lauren has one NPC. I don't know if Laura or Conrad have any off the top of my head. Chris has like 4.
I have 3. Thank you very much.
I don't think off the top of my head, but I need to come back to you about something after this, Austin. I had a little idea.
My character is deliberately designed to have none.
Yeah.
Conrad, anything about Drake's backstory you want to share?
Well, for Drake, what I wanted to do is I wanted to play a big dummy. That was seriously my primary motivation. And so from there, I was like, all right, well, what are things that big dummies are good at? And that sort of led me onto the protection angle. And I was like, okay, so how does somebody get to that point? The conduit thing came from that. And the organized crime idea came when I was looking at character classes and I saw Paladin and I thought, well, what is a different sort of context under which Paladins could function ideologically? And so that was how all of that came in.
Sick. Viola Violet at Viola Violets on Twitter asks, what player decision surprised you the most?
I really enjoyed. It was super impressed and intrigued with the decision to have Drake kill the one Bionoid, and then kind of lie about it and keep it a secret. I thought it was a super interesting choice. It was really interesting to follow it.
We never really got to see it play out in terms of it having a resolution on Drake, but I definitely think the effect it had on Olivia was really interesting.
And on Courage.
And the sort of subtext it created.
I think there's also still a really interesting part to that because everyone in the party found out about it except for Olivia because of the hive mind.
Yeah.
So I don't think Drake feels guilt. I don't know if he's capable of it, but it is interesting to consider that Drake does have to, and the rest of the party kind of have to go on knowing that was a secret that Olivia never got to know.
When my character was sort of having majorly fucked up with getting involved with Ragnar initially, there was a moment where the captain was trying to almost do a bit of a speech, and then Conrad sort of very starkly interrupted his Dreg, and it was a very abrupt moment that really, as a player, it really threw me. I wasn't expecting it, and it was difficult as a player.
Do we want to talk about that whole entire thing? Because that was such an important dynamic, and also I think difficult personally.
Yeah, we'll get back to it in a second. But I think that ultimately it was really strong for the for the character in the arc and for what it did for those two characters. But yeah, that was really difficult personally, that whole thing.
Because I think it's very important, not just because it really characterized both Liamire and Dreg, but making the found family kind of motif feel earned, because it's so common in not just D&D, just all fantasy media. It's we joined together to defeat the evil, now we're like a family. Anyone can do that.
Yeah.
But actually seeing you fight for real to the point where off screen you were kind of upset as a person, and then overcome that was oh no, this is real.
Yeah, to talk a little bit about it, what was going on off screen. I was really struggling early in the season with I sort of, without thinking too much, volunteered to take the role of captain, and then I felt like I was carrying a lot of weight from that. I felt like any time plans didn't work out or things within the party went wrong, I felt like a lot of that weight fell on me, and I really was genuinely struggling with feeling like I was fucking things up for the team, and that was there was a lot of very real stuff that ended up getting channeled into my performance of the character because I had a lot of shit I was trying to work out, and it was difficult. There was a lot of feelings going on. There were a few heated emotional conversations that, looking back on, I'm like, okay, I would have handled that very differently. But there was a lot of feelings happening around that arc. But like, it ultimately made me feel a lot more connected to this season's cast of characters getting through that, I think.
Yeah, it was one of the most important things I think we did all season was actually show that these are real people with disagreements, but that they could work through it because they actually did have a connection. But as far as surprising moments, I thought of one, and I know this didn't actually happen, but it was a decision that was made, and it was during the Purist arc when at first Lauren was going to let everyone die.
Oh, yeah.
And then you changed your mind and plugged the hole. That actually did shock me, Austin, because it felt very out of character for Lauren.
Really?
Yeah, not that you aren't a being of chaos, because you are, but I feel like you have a pretty constant anxiety about doing the wrong thing. You don't want people to be mad at you or to like criticize you, and it felt like you would normally have been like, well, that letting people die seems bad, and you were just like, no, it's fine.
Well, also, I mean, pretty early on in this season is when I started on my like antidepressants.
Mm-hmm.
So like everything, I feel like I've changed a lot. I don't know. It's weird. Brains, how do those work?
I don't think that's weird. Like, I often feel like we've done like 3 seasons together now, and like all 3 seasons, I felt like a very different person by the end of the season.
Yeah.
We're all doing something very special. I don't think we should take that for granted. This is like a story we're all telling together in front of thousands of people, and like when our lives are over, it'll be like a thing we had done, and that persists beyond us. It's pretty
God,
cool.
It's probably like one of the proudest things I look back on that I've been a part of creating. I'm like, oh, that's a story that exists now that we made.
One of the things that surprised me was when there was the Jacqueline fight.
Mm-hmm.
You came so hard, and I was just like, whoa, what did I do? Like, I was like, is he mad at me for real?
I do like how I can describe people being butchered by the millions, like the world ending, gods dying, and people are like, yeah, cool, fantasy adventure. And then I'm like, you fucking bitch. And people are like, that was too intense for me.
That's the thing, he gets personal, that shit.
Well, and I've known Austin for so long. 13 years now?
Too many.
I'm sorry. But yeah, no, I wasn't expecting that level of like anger because Austin's never mad.
Mm-hmm.
It was wild for me.
Any other surprising things, or should I move to the next question?
I was really surprised that when Olivia died off screen.
We have a lot of questions about that.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get into it, but like there's the part of me that always assumes when we play this, if you do things fast enough and do things right, you can stop the bad thing happening. And I know that that's not how life works. Like, sometimes there just is no way to stop the bad thing happening, but it still caught me off guard.
Yeah, I feel like mostly video games has kind of warped the part of our brains that enjoys stories, maybe my generation specifically, because, you know, in a video game, you're the main character. Everyone's like, oh, you're so strong, you're so brave, you can do anything, and then you can, and nothing can stop you. And that's, most fiction doesn't work like that. A lot of people fail. Like, you know, Hamlet doesn't actually bring his dad back at the end. Sometimes you fuck up.
Failure is interesting. Like, I always think a story with some failure is better. And like, I like that we couldn't have saved Olivia. I think it was narratively fascinating, but I didn't see it coming.
See, I was like, I didn't necessarily see it coming, but also when it happened, I was completely not surprised.
Because you know Chris.
Because I know Chris.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, of course.
Next question, Harrison Andrew at Chicote1703 asks, did the Purists actually have some dark secret, or were they really just as friendly as they appeared? Yeah, I think they were what they looked like, which was people trying to find spiritual enlightenment. It was basically like a monastery. Compassion was literally trying to give people the heaven that they wanted. Some of them were dangerous, but that's because some people wanted them dangerous. And it was kind of a deliberate subversion of like the spooky cult storyline that is so pervasive in D&D. One of you could argue my very pretentious asshole-ish obsessions is taking D&D and trying to improve it.
Yeah.
That's the origin of the no Dungeons, no Dragons thing, which obviously has been changed to only interesting dungeons and only interesting dragons. But
Only so people will stop calling you out.
Can I make a thing canon? Leomora
Absolutely.
totally goes back to that monastery at some point to go play more card games with her card game friend.
and I imagine Sasha wants to go back and troll Bupe.
Oh yeah, and that How to OZ that I terrified.
Yeah.
No, I took him and flung him into the light dimension.
Oh yeah.
He's part of my team. I forgot to pick up the house though.
Summer Duck at bduck_quack asks, what is Halflor Grunderson, first of his name's backstory? I think I might have mentioned this on the Discord, but that's a character my brother made for our real life in-person D&D thing. And he really was, as every kind of like quest happened, adding to his name. So the friend of centaurs is because in the game he saved some centaurs from a monster or something. And so he added that to his name. And that was like the joke of his character. And I wanted a GIF to represent the more quote-unquote stereotypical GIF to contrast with Leomora, who is very much not like the way they're written in the lore, and to have them as foils. And the way my brother played Halflor was like just exactly like GIF are written, so I kind of just stole it from him. What's he gonna do?
Suck on that, Tyler.
This is fun. Teak at LT_K asks, which season 5 character would you like to be friends with in real life? And it's obviously Melbeck, who is the only chill person in the entire show.
She just wants to make friends with everyone. She wants to meet interesting people.
I'd be friends with Sasha.
I'd be friends with Sasha. I want to go on cool cryptid hunting missions.
I mean, Sasha's just like me, but a bird.
Yeah.
and
I would
less bills.
I would happily just sit and binge watch BuzzFeed Unsolved with Sasha like for hours.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a great time.
Oh yeah, I think I have hung out with Sasha. I'm
Whoa, hold on.
I'm pretty sure I've met that person. Yeah. No, I don't drink anymore, so hanging out with Leomora is
That's fair. I think she could
Yeah.
respect, and be like, no, it's cool. Oh yeah,
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
drink around people who don't drink.
But I don't go out. I don't leave the house, so I don't even hang with people.
Canonically
So I don't-
speaking, all my characters smoke weed. Whether Austin wants them to or not.
It's not that I didn't want them to. It's just every season Lauren hands in her character sheet and it's like, they love weed. And I was like, yeah, I think it's implied at this point. You really gotta go into it every time.
Yeah, they're poly, bi, and they love weed every time.
This is one for Chris. Let's get him in the mix. Moomba at Moomba Station asks, Moomba, what did Olivia's conduit change to in the end? And I guess this is a part where if you don't want this answer, maybe skip ahead a little bit.
When I was originally writing everything, I was like, oh, okay, so this big decision happens. Olivia's conduit's going to change, and I knew it was changing too. But as I was writing out, I was like, this comes off clunky if she just says it, and it's certainly better written and more interesting if she doesn't say it. And I personally find that any kind of media that is long-standing, that has things like it that leaves questions unanswered at the end is immensely more interesting because of it, because it gives you something as a viewer to sort of digest and discuss and think about after the show, and there's something really tangibly more valuable from that than just having things told to you, in my perspective. So I initially was like, oh, okay, cool, it'll be something for the audience to kind of think about and decide, and a lot of people have, and a lot of people have put in really good answers. Almost all of them are actually better than the real answer, so that's partly why I was like, oh yeah, we don't really need to go into it. But a lot of people feel that I'm being super pretentious and being very dodgy in answering it. So they're like, I want the answer. I must know the answer. So I will give it to those people. But I will stress, you are going to enjoy this more if you don't know the answer. The Sopranos ending, I think, is great. It is infinitely less interesting now that the creator has gone out and said how it actually ended. So once you hear it, you can't go back.
Wait.
And yeah, no, he did. He went out after James Gandolfini's death. He said what happened.
Oh.
I'm gonna mute my headphones because, like, the way you've put it there, I wouldn't want to know how The Sopranos ended after the cut to black. So, someone message me in Skype after this has been said.
I'm not going to give it like a long explanation or anything like that because it's not really merited that. But this is just for the people who are like,
Yeah.
I have like an insatiable desire to know the answer.
I wish I could skip it, but I have to edit this, so I'm gonna hear it no matter what.
So very quickly, if you don't want to hear this, skip ahead 15 seconds or whatever. The answer is she became the conduit of disappointment. She had failed
Oh, shit.
in everything she kind of went to at the end. She gave up everything she wanted to try to do this mission, and she died in that moment, recognizing that everything had kind of come to an end. I considered Conduit a failure as well, but Skitch had already had an idea that was working with that, so Conduit, disappointment, failure, rather synonymous with each other, so that's the answer.
That's a mood.
Leave it to Chris. Somebody call Laura back in for the next question, because I'm going to answer it now. Bisexual brick-throwing sad boy at Cody L. Ralston asks, did Austin get any annoying pedantic messages about how corporal is the second lowest rank in the military, or am I the first? So, I knew it was wrong, and I said it anyway when you guys broke into the military base, and I was trying to give you a backstory, or not a backstory, like a cover story. Here's how my brain process works, right? Because it's all improv. Everything, I don't write anything down. We're just talking. But I thought to myself, I want to rank we've not used before. We had Private Fortune and General Heller in the last season. We have Captain Melbeck and Captain Babish this season. We have Colonel Cassius Pyre. So I was just trying to think of a rank we hadn't used. I should have went with Major or Admiral. I said Corporal. That's wrong.
Idiot.
I mean, I'm an idiot, so you got past me.
Yeah, I was waiting for it, and my literal excuse, if somebody would have called me on it, would have been like, actually, in the Soul military, it's different. But nobody did until now. But yeah, that was not the right answer. Jaspel, conduit of fluffiness, at Mr. Kurome on Twitter asks, most loved NPC.
Objectivist!
Objectivist has to be. Objectivist is the NPC that stole everyone's hearts. Maybe Babish.
Babish is also good.
I mean, all credit to Laura for Babish. You created him. You gave him his basic personality.
I'm going to be honest. I don't think Babish would have become a thing had Chris not pushed.
Oh yeah.
I think Chris asked the follow-up questions that made Babish come to life, because Babish, I think, would have been forgettable without Chris.
An interesting thing, and this is almost like a writing tip for aspiring writers out there, is to make people feel a thing, it is sometimes useful to show someone else feeling a thing. This is like the secret behind those YouTube videos, like reacting to stuff, because people often don't know how to feel about stuff the first time they see it. But when you see someone else react a certain way, it reinforces like feelings you may be sorting through. So I think Objectivist is a decent character, not like great. He's just kind of a subversion of the traditional Illithid, being small instead of big like you thought, and being less evil than perhaps you expected. But Lauren reacting to Objectivist, her joy and glee, made us feel more attached to him. So it's almost like it's not even about what I brought to Objectivist. It's about Lauren's reaction to Objectivist made him more likable.
It's because he's baby.
He is baby, but it's just like a weird psychological thing about writing and people's brains. But
Oh, Buck. I liked Buck too.
fuck off.
So much so I didn't remember his name every time I had to ask people.
I really liked Ragnar.
Cop!
I know he was an asshole who, fucking fooled me, but I like that cop.
Yeah, I think he was a bad person trying to be better, and I think it was really interesting to write and voice him. It's also the accent I feel most comfortable doing.
I really enjoyed Ragnar.
Is that a sign we're going to get more general characters in upcoming seasons?
I mean, someday, absolutely. Not next season, which I think anybody who follows us closely knows that the next season is Planescape based. That was talked about in the show and in the Discord and on Twitter and stuff, so it's not a spoiler really. Drow do not figure into Planescape, so it's going to be at least one season, probably more.
Suck it, Drow.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to remember all the NPCs that were in the season.
There were a lot.
Right? Yeah, there were a lot of
This isn't
NPCs.
like season 3 where we had 8 NPCs and they all lived on one street.
I'd be curious of what the actual percent, like the difference between the number of NPCs. 'Cause I didn't feel like it was that many more. But maybe it felt like more.
I mean, if you're considering NPCs as just like the members of the crew, it's probably about the same. But because we went every planet added 2 to 3 antagonists or
Yeah.
neutral characters,
There was always 10 people that we had to speak to on a mission that were new people we hadn't met before.
Like, we consider that Pell 3 alone gave the Solitaire and the art studio, I want to say charity, but I can't remember if that's correct or not.
Honesty.
Honesty, something like that. Irene and
Yeah, I mean, like, I like Ambassador Respect, but I'm a sucker for a Paul Wynn accent. So I mean, Paul Wynn voice.
oh my goodness,
Chris,
Yeah.
please, Chris, always do that voice.
I'm not doing it next season. You're gonna have to earn it.
Okay.
But I love you.
Everyone has to earn that voice
How?
by allowing me to be pedantic and fucking mysterious without questioning my goddamn decisions.
Are we not doing that already? Are we not already allowing
Yeah,
you to be
yeah, yeah.
pedantic?
This is
So fucking people.
You're punishing us for the audience, and I don't think that's fair.
Yeah.
I need to internalize this guilt somewhere.
Speaking of your decisions, question from Pastor of Muppets, very fucking good name, at Zodiac_308. Was there any way to save Olivia? And I feel like there's a lot of these. I'm sorry if I didn't read your specific name because we got like a dozen of those. I think that's not the right way to look at it. Chris, you could probably explain more, but it was a decision. It wasn't like a failure of gameplay.
No, not really. I don't think this. Basically, from the point Olivia was taken back, you almost say once she stabbed herself to force an ultimatum on Cassius. But basically, once she was back at Drift Park, it was an inevitable situation. He wasn't going to change, and she wasn't going to be able to stomach going back there again. And at that point, like, the party wasn't going to be able to interact with her to stop her. It's one of my favorite David Simon quotes is when he's asked about The Wire, and he's like, "What's the best feedback you ever got about it?" And he's like, that he didn't lie. And I felt that with Olivia, that when it came down to the point where she was going to try to kill Cassius, I was like, I'm going to give her the best shot she's going to have. But once shooting Cassius in the back of the head failed, she wasn't going to win that fight. Just mathematically, narratively, she could not win that fight. So
That was actually a good example of another punch I probably pulled, because by the rules, you pull out a gun on Cassius, he teleports inside you, you die.
yeah, like, even if it was like, for whatever reason, Austin decided Cassius didn't either just blow me up or even just teleport inside of her arm and blow that up to keep her from firing a gun. The fact of the matter was she wasn't going to win that fight. She had a -1 to attack, and the entire season has been a journey about exploring how much Olivia is going to destroy herself to save people, and she was just a battered person by that point.
Yeah, she was a pacifist that was definitely not built for fighting, trying to solo the final boss of the game, who failed their sneak attack.
Yeah, so there are a variety of certain small things that happened throughout the campaign that eventually led to that point. And you could certainly sit there and question whether or not, if Olivia hadn't failed the insight check on the Maxwells, or if the party hadn't had sort of a reaction to her revelation, or if we had visited, say, even the cults before Pell 3, maybe Cassius and his group wouldn't have been at that point to kind of be an impending danger the same way. Maybe these things wouldn't happen, but I mean, those are what ifs that really kind of detract from discussing, I guess, the narrative at hand. There's something kind of interesting to think about, but I don't think that once, the train was moving, there was really a way to stop it.
Yeah, one of the most common questions we get is like, what would have happened if you had done X? And the answer is almost always, I don't know. We would have made something up, and I know that's not satisfying. But these choices are so real. I think that's what makes Dice Funk like a very unique addition to the real play podcast genre. Is that we really put so much trust in each other above what other shows are willing to do. And it's incredibly stressful. We're all killing ourselves to do this, but I think it's worth it.
Like, I listened to some other 5th edition or tabletop and D&D type shows, and most other ones I listen to will at some point have it be clear that something was a pre-written thing that shows up, and like that's not necessarily bad. I enjoy that sometimes, but there is definitely something vulnerable about not pre-preparing anything and just going with what feels right for the character. It can be a lot.
Yeah, it takes a lot of investment and
Yeah.
trust and vulnerability, emotional vulnerability in front of all these people. But I think it's worth it, and it's what makes our show unique and worthwhile. Christian Castanera at Christ_man_ on Twitter. Was Conrad at any time worried about having an evil character in a mostly good party?
No.
He says, hiding his evil character sheet for next season.
Whoa, yeah. If you think Drake was evil, no, I wasn't really worried about it because the way Drake was designed as a character, him being evil is only a problem if other people have a problem with him being evil.
Mm-hmm.
He's there to do a job. He's loyal to doing the job. It's his code. So I wasn't worried about team integration from that perspective, but he was still going to make some pretty evil choices, and there were consequences for that among some of the relationships in the party. So I think it was something that had a potential to be a problem, but I don't know. I don't necessarily think of somebody that's evil being ineffective or unable to integrate into a group, right? Like, I don't necessarily think that those two things are incompatible.
We all work very well with Lauren.
So
Hey.
it's interesting you say
Oh.
it. There's like sort of go-tos that happen, like if you follow D&D groups and things like that, there's often like situations that create problems. And one of like the biggest ones are like, we have a paladin in our group who refuses to let us do anything. They're too strict. They won't let us take gold from the monsters we kill or stuff like that. And then it's like, there's an evil member in our party and none of us can work with them or anything like that. And those extremes are always usually caused because like the offending party there is like kind of intentionally creating the drama. Whereas like Drake was like a perfect example of how both of those like things of like a paladin and an evil character could absolutely coexist in the party and still be like just as much of a part of the team, that those aren't inherently two things that can't work together in any way, shape, or form.
I think one thing that really helps as well in the big picture is that Austin always starts the season with some kind of driving force of, this is what's pulling your party together and making you a group of people, so that we have a common ground, so that even if we are arguing, we can see like, okay, we get why we're arguing though, because we have this middle ground. Like season 3, it was, we are all trapped in this town together and we all just want to work out what the heck's going on here. Season 4, it was, we all need money. Season 5, we're all on a ship together. We all have to try and coexist because we're living in a confined space together. Like, it helps to have some kind of glue that consists, some theme that runs through the party that keeps them together when those tensions arise and stops them just walking in opposite directions.
It's going to be 2 weeks, I think, until season 6 starts, because there's going to be a one-shot after this. So to give you something to think about over that, the glue next season is very cool.
It's fun. It is. It's the least sad I think the glue has been in a while. There's no like, oh, we're all poor and everything. It's a fun glue.
Oh, I should send you over my character background.
I'm excited for your character background, Conrad. I'm ready.
Oh yeah, you already have my shit.
We're not even a quarter into the question, so I'm going to try to speed it up here. Goblin King Mike at Slime King Mike asks, what did the last Rygarians end up doing once the season ended? So actually, this almost works as a prequel to Spelljammer in a way. Like, I obviously incorporated a lot of it, but the way that the Rygar are in canon normal Spelljammer is their plant's been destroyed, and their population has been decimated almost to the point of extinction, and now there's only a couple rare ones. Like, seeing one is like 1 in a billion. They're like one of the most lost species. So we actually kind of made a prequel to Spelljammer. Also, the Witchlight Marauders, the Maxwells, are in canon. If you open the book, look at it, it says like they were built for a war, but they're all now supposedly destroyed or lost. So like we made the story that leads to how Spelljammer is the way it is, almost unintentionally. But yeah. Drakenmensch at Drakenmensch on Twitter asks, how did Dreg manage to break Mr. Greer's second wrist when his conduit should have protected him after being damaged from being damaged the same way twice? I probably should have been clearer, but during the episode, what happened was I think one was a strength versus strength contest, and one was using your paladin's protection style, like the defense style, Conrad, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a out of character. It was just a mechanical thing. In character, I think he just wasn't fighting you anymore. He was like yelling at his daughter and just didn't notice because his experiences from being a fencer and like when he's in battle, he can see your techniques and stuff. But out of character, they were just different kinds of roles is really what it was. And I know that's maybe not as narratively satisfying, but I guess he wasn't paying attention when he turned to yell at Sasha. Ben Smooker at Dragon Nexus asks, after everything that had gone on between Sasha and Jacqueline, why did Jacqueline give her the information she needed to get to Drift Park, only to later utterly resent and hate Sasha for everything she had done? I think context is really important for this. When she gave you the information about the Black Site, she was trying to avert an intergalactic war. She was still mad at you, but it was, I'm mad at you, but we have to take care of this, and I can't do it through official channels. Go take care of it. And when she was screaming at you, she had just watched everyone she known die, her entire community be a zombie apocalypse, and like half a dozen planets be utterly annihilated. You can imagine how stressful that must be. And then she was turned into a slug when the bad guy showed up and said, oh, where's your girlfriend? Huh, she didn't come for you. That's weird.
Yeah.
So I just think the emotional context is wildly different between those two.
Also, I think I rolled really well when I...
Oh, you had to talk her down? Or
No.
to get the information?
Yeah, to get the information. And you were like, God damn it, I can't justify not giving it.
Yeah, I think you got a 21 to get the information from her. So, yeah, I understand the way it looks, but also if you had gone to Jacqueline instead of Volhard, once the Maxwells attacked, she would have been like, oh, you came for me first? You really do care. I'm still mad at you, but I'm going to help you fight with my flails, and I'm not a slug because you showed up before Cassius.
Oops. But then Dreg got them, so good for Dreg, huh?
And Volhard. Yeah.
And good for Volhard.
Pip Mason asks, was Cassius always planned to be the big bad at the end of the series, or could have been someone else based on the group's decisions? Oh, this is an easy one. Cassius wasn't even in the story outline. Not even a factor until Chris made him a factor. I think the way it probably would have went without Cassius was Jacqueline represents Soul. There would have been a more prominent solitaire leader, and then there would have been an elder brain, and it could have been like a 3-faction kind of thing. But once Cassius was introduced, so once the voice really got under people's skin, it was just like, it felt more natural, and that's just the way it went. And
you gave him that cool JoJo power.
Yeah, some people thought he was overpowered, or I think literally someone said the Mary Sue. And I'm looking through, what's the book here? The Mordekainen's Tome of Foes I have right here by me, and every high-level demon and devil has teleport at will. It's actually kind of a not powerful, besides the exploding people, although you found a way around that. That was more of a, it was like a Metroid upgrade to open new doors more than a fight thing. But it's actually not that cool of a power for a D&D creature to have. It just felt like it because he was like such a bag of dicks.
The biggest.
Yeah. What'd you guys think about Cassius? I feel like he's one of the most popular villains we've ever done.
I liked him a lot.
He was a punk-ass bitch.
I like that. There's something very sad about his story. I always tried to play it with Olivia, that Olivia didn't react to it, a lot of the things he was saying, and kind of had a very exasperated way of dealing with it because she's heard it before. She's spent almost a decade hearing the same speeches and the same kind of ideology, and all of her guilt is kind of manifested in this, or rather all of her angst is kind of manifested in this guilt that she doesn't know how to help him. She doesn't know how to help this guy get over the trauma and the pain that he suffered from whatever kind of triggered that crash. So I thought it was really interesting to see just this kind of warped evil kind of commander. It's sort of like if you had made General Heller from season 4 the antagonist of the whole campaign, just this kind of, this dark soldier.
Yeah, I was thinking about having a scene and I don't know where it would have fit really, but where the party talked to him about his experience having they died and came back essentially, because near-death experiences are like a real thing. There's an entire genre, especially here in the American South, of like these books written by people who've had near-death experience. Basically, they're like religious propaganda, where like I saw Jesus and he said gay marriage is bad or whatever. But you see these books in like Publix or whatever. Not so much anymore. It's been a while since I've seen one. But it's an entire kind of like narrative with a lot packed in. And I was thinking about having a conversation where he talked about like how fucking bad it must feel to think you went to war to protect your civilization from some truly evil fucking slavers and then be punished forever because of D&D's cosmology. And I don't know if he would have been a better villain if he was more understandable and sympathetic. I think some people were like, don't do that. There's a whole like genre of YouTube video about like, stop romanticizing Thanos. But I think there was some of that in there.
I like villains that have a streak of humanity. I think that's valuable because it's really easy to forget that monsters are people.
The example I keep thinking about recently is how I feel about Kylo Ren in Star Wars, where I'm like, I don't want this person to get redeemed and end up having and now he gets he's gonna have a romance with Rey and everything's nice, and it's like sometimes someone is like a murderous evil person and they don't need to get redemption necessarily.
No.
It's that
redemption.
It's the thin line between like interesting backstory and making them someone who seems like they can be redeemed, and it doesn't matter that they made a Nazi army in space. It's fine.
Right.
I really hated him so much.
Yeah.
No sympathy from me, but I'm a monster, so.
I guess I should say when I say like it's sad, I don't mean like in a way that I feel bad for him. It's just in one of those like those tragedies where you're just like it's a fucking shame that this is what's happened and this is what you've become.
Yeah. This was bad for everyone.
Honest Mario at Mario Honest, he reversed it on me there. Doesn't the spell regeneration undo most character damage? So that's the reference to at the end when Big Star is so physically injured that you said he never walks again under his own power. This I'll throw it to Chris in a second, but is a pretty interesting problem with all of D&D. Like, how can there be famine when there's a level 1 spell that makes food? How can there be disease when there's a level 1 spell that cures all disease? How can there be curses when there's a level 2 spell that cures all curses? Everyone solves this differently or just doesn't address it. Chris, did you have any thoughts vis-a-vis Big Star?
I've always been of the mindset that magic is essentially kind of like a form of medicine, and that it can heal the body, but eventually, I know in 4E games that I used, I always called it when a character ran out of healing surges, they've reached threshold. And it's the idea that even though the spell hasn't changed, your body just physically just rejects healing at that point. It just can't actually process it anymore. And I think that when there are certain things that just hit a body in D&D, or when one of those things just happens that severely, the body just rejects the ability to like restore, to recover from it. I mean, there's sort of a narrative thing that you have to accept, because I mean, there's even just the level of you're like, well, would humans have even evolved in the same way if we could have invincible organs and unstoppable amount of limbs, essentially?
I think there's a certain degree of this in reality where like our bodies are really good at like growing new stuff and fixing themselves and repairing, but as we age, the more times our body, heals over cuts and whatnot, it gets worse at doing that over time. Like, the body only has so many times that it can replicate DNA before DNA starts to just fall apart and you die. It's just a thing. We have a hard limit on ourselves.
We had this conversation in season 4 as well about how in fiction you demand a certain level of like logic and things, but in real life there's enough food where nobody needs to be hungry, and yet people are. And it's just like sometimes things aren't allocated fairly. I bet after a devastating multi-solar system war where billions of people died, doctors and people who can do healing magic are in very, very high demand. And maybe Big Star was like, no, go to them first. And then it was just too late.
Big Star may have also just never wanted to be healed. I think there was a real reality when everything had happened and I knew Big Star was going to live, but I didn't know Sigrid's fate, where I was like, if Sigrid dies, I think Big Star just goes off to like maybe some kind of quasi job in politics or in the government or something like that. And it's just stated that he's fine, but he lives a very sad life from then. Whereas like if he had lost so much and at the end he doesn't even have this hope for the, this project future that he had, that it would be like, I don't know, maybe he just doesn't want that anymore. He's ready to put all of this behind him. I think it's kind of part of the reason why he doesn't go with the crew either. He's like, I was really in this with Olivia for this mission, but war was hell. I hated it, so I'm ready to get out.
Harry, punch Nazis at Death5431 asks, since Objectivist was supposed to be a boss fight, had this team sided with Courage, how would that have worked, given that he was a tadpole in a jar? So he opened the door for you. So, he has some kind of telekinetic control over the facility. He would have attacked you with like security measures until the Illithids in the ship showed up. And then you would have fought some of them. That was kind of the boss fight the Illithid route was leading to. And then after killing them, you would have basically aggroed the Illithids, who would have been a major villain from then on forward. In the same way, if you had sided with Objectivist against Courage, you would have killed Courage, and then the Solitaire would have been a big villain going forward. Siding with both meant both of those factions kind of faded into the background a little bit more than they might have otherwise. So,
friendship.
Next time I want to make a really juicy choice, both have to be physically disgusting.
If you make it too small, it'll still be cute.
Adorkable Smile asks, this season in particular felt like it demonstrated a lot of ethical quandaries, with Invicta members being conduits of peace, freedom, equality, etc. Do you think there was a chance the bastards ever would have sided with them?
No.
We never say never, right? Like, isn't that kind of the...
Well, I wouldn't.
Oh, well, I don't think certainly as the way that they were portrayed. I've always had a different interpretation of Invicta, that a lot of them are racist, but that it's also like a veteran organization.
Yeah.
And that there's a level to that I can see. And there's like, trust me, there's a whole second season that could have been done on like veteran rights and things of that nature that are just completely ignored. But I would just say that once we knew more about Invicta, it probably wasn't going to happen. But I mean, who knows early on?
Yeah, and it's the thing is, like, I'm with you on because veterans organization thing, but it was also a bit militia.
Yeah,
and that's where it veers into territory that I want to be compassionate, but it gets hairy.
Can I give a little bit of a non-American perspective on Invicta? Because, like, from the outside, being from England really doesn't have the same level of patriotism. Like the whole standing up every morning and saluting a flag and repeating a pledge where you pledge to be nothing but in love with your country, that's a really alien thing. And a lot of, like, I can understand that it's sort of those links to veterans organizations and things like that, but when I see high degree of patriotism is kind of what, at least from an outside perspective, seems to fuel a lot of the American love for the American Army, which leads to American Army veterans. It also leads a lot of the current American, the rising far-right stuff in America, which is obviously happening everywhere right now as well, but, like, it feels like America's very specific brand of patriotism definitely doesn't help the fact that America as a country really does breed a lot of very dangerous people who band together in anger going, everyone's against us, we need to get rid of the people that aren't like us. And I think that, like, that part of that view is why I was very anti-Invicta from the outside, is it to me reminded me of a lot of the worst things about American patriotism, when American patriotism goes too far and turns into a lot of these radicalized white mass shooter types that we see in America. I hope that that's a fair answer to give and that doesn't come off wrong.
Yeah, no, as an American, I'm deeply offended. But,
Sorry.
but you're right. That's what I mean when I say militia. Like, when I say militia, I'm talking about those people within our own family. Because we look at that in a very isolated aspect of our country. Like, there are certain parts of the country and people with certain political dispositions that are more likely to form these groups.
Austin and I live in South Georgia, aka North Florida, so
Yeah.
it's bad.
I lived in Arizona for a long time. I spent a few years living in Portland, Oregon. Oh boy.
Oh boy, that sounds bad.
They have got some militias living around there that are a lot of fun.
I mean, you mentioned Oregon, but them occupying Drift Park was very much a deliberate parallel with the militia who occupied the National Wildlife Refuge in Oregon. It was a real thing that happened.
I don't know what point in the season I realized this, but I've known for a while that I've been picturing Invicta not as people from Earth, but specifically people from America. I was like, oh no, this is the American, we're not happy, get out of America people.
Oh yeah, I immediately thought like Fox News, Tea Party, like, all that bullshit.
It's weird because I obviously the deck was always going to be stacked against you joining them because they had toxic beliefs, but I also wanted to have some of them be sympathetic. Elizabeth is the main one. Also Jacqueline, who I think you ultimately got way closer to than I thought, like just because Lauren was attracted to her.
I like big ladies.
I know, but that once again, that's another thing where I should have thought of it ahead of time. But yeah, like there were sympathetic people, and if you had sided with Soul, like that, the story would then have become about, hey, these veterans actually do need help. Let's get these racists out of here and actually help them.
Yeah.
Also, the Illithids are doing a bad slavery. We should stop them.
Yeah, like that was what I was gonna say. Is that we saw all of like the bad side of Invicta, but as you mentioned earlier, we didn't really investigate like the Illithids. And if we had, we probably would have seen like the bad side of Illithids as well, which would paint a different picture too. So there's I think a campaign.
I think we saw the bad side of Illithids. It was the brain eating.
Yeah, we didn't see like the slavery and the brain eating sort of conquesting side of them very much. So there's probably a different side of this campaign too, where I don't know, Lauren is sick and doesn't like objectivists, and that things happens.
Lauren is sick.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you guys side with Jacqueline over Subjectivist, the next couple missions are going into the Far Realm and killing the most vicious, evil Elder Brains to dismantle their war machine while learning more about Invicta and their struggles. And, you know, obviously Cassius and Kaiser are not savable people, but Elizabeth, Jacqueline, and then probably just most of the randos are open to being swayed. And that's an entire other story we could have told. But
I mean, it was doomed as soon as Objectivist was my son. Like, I had to get his brother back.
You did. Once again, completely out of my control. You could have killed Objectivist in the first mission. You could have recruited him, but then never earned his trust. There's so much that could have happened. Next question, Chaosabaloo asks, each person's favorite conspiracy? And this is the part for your answer where I reveal the last 9 months have been an enormous bamboozle upon Lauren.
What?
There's basically nothing you did with the Conduit of Conspiracy that you couldn't have done without it. You could have used a downtime to put the nut button in Courage. You could have used a downtime to make the sun gun. You could have used a downtime to put a inflatable raft in your bag. In a way, what the Conduit of Conspiracy was a psychological trick to make you more comfortable with creativity.
That's so rude.
I think it was very helpful for you to feel like you had permission to embrace your ideas.
Yes, that's true. I have a big time imposter syndrome over here.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, fuck you though, man.
I mean, we did. It's not like I foisted it on you, and also the timing stuff does help. But
yeah, no, it was. I'm shook. I got bamboozled.
It definitely did help not having to, being able to plan things that you couldn't have known for, but...
Also, I don't know, I feel like I work better on the fly.
Mm-hmm.
Because then my brain's like, oh no!
That is it's your basic mode. But what about everyone's favorite conspiracies?
I mean, I like the sun gun, obviously.
Yeah.
The sun gun was amazing.
That's hard to beat. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to top that.
I love that sun gun.
All time. I still think the courtroom scene fight in season 4 is my favorite moment in Dice Funk history because it was so electric the way we were all building off each other, and also none of us knew we were coming. Me and Lauren both knew about the sun gun beforehand, and also I think Laura.
Yeah.
So there wasn't that raw energy of oh my god, what is happening?
Oh my god. The courtroom scene in season 4 worked as well because like everyone had a part to play, and we were all throwing every trick in the bag we had, and no one knew which way it was going to end up.
I just loved that the bullet went like a square.
Oh my god, the fucking, like, that moment was still so well orchestrated.
Yeah, I mean, I think season 4 is probably my best work. I'm very proud of what we did this season, but I think I basically took Spelljammer and made improvements to it. But I think season 5 is probably the best player character work. Like, all of you brought your A game. All the characters were likable yet complex. Like, you killed it. I think I did a relatively mediocre job this season, but season 4 is like, you could play that a dozen times and it would never work out the same. You ally and betray and put the different branches and contest against each other and stuff like that. So dynamic. And here I was like, what if there was a bad guy and you beat him up? Like, it was a pretty, I liked it, but it wasn't very ambitious, as opposed to what you guys did with your characters, which is wild and unforgettable.
It's probably my best work, other than maybe season 3.
That was very challenging. That was more very ambitious.
It was.
I think
Also, my brain is better now.
Powerful.
I think my favorite conspiracy is that O.J. Simpson's kid might have actually had done it.
Oh my god, that's the dumbest fucking shit. Don't even talk to me about that, Craig.
I know. Jade at Jade the Thief. Hello, Jade. Asks, that's also for the who doesn't remember the voice of the last time on Dice Funk this season. Asks, was there more to the story with Cassius's crashed ship and the trip to Stone Route to get the Gorfanax flails? So I think some people picked up on this, but in some ways, season 5 was kind of the Force Awakens to season 1's A New Hope, because it's about, they're both kind of about colonialist powers trying to take over a weaker place, and there's a flesh creature in a quarry. And also, just Jacqueline has Ronaldo's flails from season 1. He was the protagonist of season 1, essentially. He was way more important than any of the other characters. So it was a deliberate parallel. I don't know if there was any like secret lore necessarily, just that they went there and Jacqueline got the flails. So the parallels are deliberate. It was a kind of a reimagining, like, what if the thing in the quarry could be defeated? And so, for those who haven't listened to season 1, spoilers, something's in the quarry, it gets out, and then we all die. It was total party wipe, season over. But this was like, what if not that?
I feel like this is the happiest ending we've had.
Yeah, we had total party wipe, season 1. I'm just going to spoil all the seasons. Season 2, total timeline wipe.
I did my best.
Season 3, total pantheon wipe. Season 4, total politics wipe. It was always a TPK every time, total politics kill. And this time, a bunch of people died, but it was mostly a story about good guys, bad guys, and then you fought at the end and you won, which is...
The friends we made along the way.
I think what largely helps is that the player character death that happened far enough out from the ending that it's like, it's
fine.
Fine, the ending was okay.
It's fine.
David at Hydralisk on Twitter asks, you've mentioned that the Spelljammer lore is bonkers. What's the most stupid or absurd thing from the universe you came across while you were coming up with this season? We could do 2 more Spelljammer series and not get through all of it. We only got a tiny taste of the Neogi, who are kind of like the main villains of Spelljammer, replacing the Illithids, who will get kind of toned down. I think for me, the dumbest, most stupid thing is the Contemplator, I believe they're called. It's a kind of alien which sits all day in the pose from The Thinker.
Oh my god.
Jesus Christ, Gary.
And it contemplates the universe all day. That's all it does. And that's the entire identity of that entire alien species.
I've recently been replaying the Ace Attorney games, and I'm amazed how many times they can murder someone with the Thinker. It's a plot of like 3 murders in a row.
But yeah, Spelljammer is full of extremely dumb stuff. Partly it's like production background. Like it was kind of rushed, and they weren't given a lot of resources, and it was never intended to be like good. It was kind of just a cash-in. But sometimes it's so stupid that it's interesting, and sometimes it's just regular stupid. I can fix I guess I can salvage the interesting things from the Witchlight Marauder and make it fun and dynamic, but I don't know that I could have fixed the Contemplator. I think that might have just been dead on arrival.
Oh, I've got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any thoughts in mind on like could we have found a happy ending for the Witchlight?
I think you did.
Yeah. He got to eat everything. Good for him.
Yeah, it exists, and it's learning. That's all it really wants, insofar as it wants anything.
I was wondering if there was like could we have worked out what it was and got it home to its whatever, I don't know.
Yeah, didn't Big Star take it?
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
It was left on Fairmat last we saw it. I think there was some talk about like where it came from. Like Big Star's like, I want to go to the light dimension is what we called it. I mean, it was created by the conduit of creation from, I guess, the form stuff, the world of forms. So really, Big Star is trying to fling himself into Plato's world of forms. But asking what the Witchlight wants is kind of missing the point of it. It's almost Lovecraftian in that it's outside of human experience. It doesn't want in the same way we do. It's deliberately just like what's the most alien, unrelatable thing it can be.
But he's still our little buddy.
I'm like, was there a way to work out what it wanted in the way that it wants things?
He's got a whole planet.
Yeah, I think that's the happiest ending I can imagine for it. I mean, obviously everything's always on the table, but I don't think you guys failed. I think you let it take apart all kinds of interesting things.
Yeah, he got to go in some cool pants.
He got to take things apart and then also find a thing it couldn't take apart and go, ooh, what's that?
Yeah, just mostly slugs.
Boop, 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 boop. Andrew HM at 1995, Andy HM asks, the scale of season 5 was immense. How are you expanding it, or will you at all? Would you ever consider going back in scale or in time? So I don't have any plans now to go back in time. We're going to keep going forward. As far as I know, I work 2 years ahead of time. First, I want to put aside the question of scale. I'll get back to that in a second. I want to say that I think people think about time as being like technology levels, and I think that's a kind of like almost like a chauvinist way of looking at it. Like the Chinese had gunpowder hundreds of years before anything else. There are people in 2019 who don't have clean water. Like technology levels are fake. It's just not a thing. It's just a way of understanding our world from a position of privilege. So I don't think the technology as we understand it is going to ever get more advanced. I think what going forward we're going to have to contend with is a different understanding of culture. That's so vague. I'm sorry. Next season is going to be Planescape, which does not have any interest in what's going on in the prime material plane. It's an entire other level of existence. You'll see next time. It's angels and demons and stuff of that nature. It just doesn't relate. And then going forward, time will go forward linearly, but it's not going to just be like more sci-fi. Does any of that make sense?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so as far as scale goes, you guys said there's a lot of NPCs and people are saying the scale was immense. I felt like I made a pretty simple story. Like there's 4 levels, right? Like Fairmont, Pella 3, Gloria, Hypatia. Like if you were playing a video game, you'd be like, guess they didn't really hit those Kickstarter goals. Where are all the levels? But do you guys also think the scope was big?
No, I feel like it was very similar to season 2 or season 4. It would be like this mission, there's a mission and a break and a mission and a break. And it kind of felt very similar to that, just in space. Each
of the 4 levels, each of the 4 planets, had its own multiple locations within that. Like, I think it's easy to compare it to, say, season 3 and go, season 3 was a town. You had a handful of places within the town, but you could conceptualize, like, it's all in the town. It's one set of locations. Season 4 was a very big city. You still had multiple... I don't know. Something about season 5 felt more spread out, and I think it's because, like, if you're doing the spider web, you've got to go, here's your 4 planets, but then here's these places on the planet. Here's your people that interact with that place. Like, there were more points that spread out and diverged more. There was more things you had to remember where that fits in with that and how that connects with that.
I feel like that speaks really well of the immersion, that it felt like a big universe instead of just 4 levels you picked from a level selection screen. So that's heartening for me to hear that it felt big to people, because
it felt like a sprawling web. Even if now I describe it, there probably weren't more actual locations, but they felt further apart and more.
I think It also helps that we went back to every location more than once. You know, we didn't just visit Vermont and we never went back. You know, we visited Vermont, then we went back there for the initial start of the Sun mission and everything like that. You know, with season 4, there are plenty of locations we never went back to. We never went back to the wrestling ring. You know, we never went back to Beatrice's office after doing a heist there and things like that. So there's a level of just like replayability, I guess, to a certain extent, where it's like, you know, we got to go back to this mission because there was enough established there. There was enough of a unique identity and flavor to this area that there's things that we can still narratively do here, or it progresses us forward onto our goals.
Well, we went to like 4 or 5 locations on Gloria alone.
Yeah.
Right? Like
That was kind of the main planet, yeah.
You know, and then Pel 3 had multiple locations. And that place just, that felt kind of like a big space. And Fermat, yeah, we used the hell out of Fermat for a wasteland planet.
I know, it's defined by not having anything interesting, and we spent a lot of time there. It's fun.
I have a question for you now, Austin.
Uh-oh.
What kind of underwear you wear? No. So in every sort of thing, when we're presented with the 2 binary choices of we're going to place A or place B, and you always tell us like, just understand there's consequences to going to place A instead of place B and vice versa. You know, vis-a-vis things will happen at the other location we don't go to that we then can't really respond to. And you mentioned that because we went to Pel 3 first, we were able to get to Grundy and everything like that. I'm curious what would have been the big change would have happened if we had done the cult mission first as opposed to second.
If you had gone to Compassion first, Cassius wouldn't have been there.
Okay.
Yeah, who knows how that would have turned out, huh?
Yeah, I wonder when we actually would have met him at that point then.
Yeah, once again, the unsatisfying answer is I don't know. But, yeah, consequences are real as fuck. Let's see. Jane Aerith Magnet at Maniac Janiac on Twitter.
Oh, that's my Jane.
Asks,
Hey, Jane.
hello. Austin, did you have anything planned that you were really disappointed when the players went the other way? And to Laura, which species did you hope Leomaru would smooch but missed out on? Laura, why don't you start?
What do I miss that could have been smooched? I don't think she ever got to smooch a solitaire. And with the whole suits thing, with the various creations, that could have been fun. I don't know how you kiss someone in a big graphene suit.
Dr. Adler knows.
Well, I suppose so. I say they probably come out of the graphene suit, and that if they come out of the graphene suit, that's a whole big act of vulnerability, which is that's a big exciting thing for smooching.
Mm-hmm. Are y'all saying Dr. Adler fucks?
Chris, does Dr. Adler fuck?
I was suggesting more to the fact that she's dead, so she did know what it was like for the smooch.
Oh, okay.
And no, she doesn't.
But she wants to smooch one of them solitaire. Come on, get out that shell. Let's do a smooch.
I made a motorcycle out of swords for you.
For who?
Oh yeah.
You didn't smooch it.
Who? I could have smooched a motorcycle made of swords.
Honor.
In the cult mission.
Oh shit.
She was in the cult mission, yeah.
Yeah. Fuck. I didn't think about that. That's the ultimate lesbian move, making out with a sword motorcycle.
You called it that.
Rewind. Let's go back.
Wasn't that the name of the episode? The ultimate lesbian mode of transportation or something like that?
Oh my god, why didn't I think about the fact I could have smooched the sword motorcycle? Oh my god. Okay, you know how I made it canon earlier that Leomora goes back to play card games with her card game friend in the cult place? She smooches the sword motorbike. That's canon now. I want art of it. It happened.
Hell yeah. And the other question, did I have anything I was disappointed you guys didn't do? So no, because the point of the show is me helping you bring your characters to life and telling their story. So I'm never disappointed because anything I write is really about making sure you guys have fun and do cool stories. And we did that, so I'm happy with it. I would say that in the spirit of the question, that the Zodar mystery that I did have, that was real. They were hiding something that I will not reveal now. Because like the Aboleth, the arc of history is long, and there are only so many stories we can do in D&D. So I do not think we have seen the last of the Zodar.
But you hate No, you like. I hate not knowing things.
Well, maybe 4, 5, 6 years in the future, you'll know things.
Fuck off, man.
God, I'm not gonna be alive then. God willing.
Big energy, Chris.
It's definitely going to be at least 2 because I did not know if you were going to solve it this season. Ebrand, conduit of consumption at Bjorty Baklov asks, was there a naming theme again, and what was it? So longtime listeners know that I usually have some kind of connective tissue between the NPCs to reinforce themes and motifs. Obviously the planets were named after mathematicians, but that's not my idea. That's just a real way planets are named. Most of the NPCs were, or pretty much all of them, were named after people who had won the Nobel Prize.
Oh.
Mostly in sciences. And there were a couple other scientists and philosophers who were in those, like, in that milieu who didn't actually win one who were included, like, as Chris alluded to, the Cassius situation. But it wasn't just because, Nobel equals smart. But do you guys know what Alfred Nobel invented?
Dynamite.
TNT.
Yeah, which is an incredible invention, very smart thing, but thing he actually felt pretty bad about because of its destructive qualities, obviously, both in the loss of human life and the damage it's done to the planet, which I don't think it's a difficult connection to make to the graphene mining. So it's about scientific progress and the potential of humans, or, people, and also the flip side of that destructive nature. It's pretty clear.
Nerd.
Evan Ledoux at Evan Ledoux asks, Lauren, how'd you come up with your plan to take out the sun dragon?
I had kind of been like, some people were joking about it in the Discord. They're like, "Oh, lol! Imagine if," and I was like, "Yes, but what if?" And I was like, "Hey, Austin, can I put my baby in this brain?" He was like, "Yeah, it's a great idea."
That's the secret to both the sun gun and the nut, the final nut, right? Is that you basically saw people in the Discord saying, wouldn't it be funny if?
And y'all thought I wouldn't do it. You fools.
So Lauren's looking at your homework over your shoulder, listeners.
Oh, yeah. No, total credit to y'all for just coming up with really dumb ideas that I love very much.
Derek J. Ross at Schmaz Products asks, when did you know that Sasha was going to be the Mothman? I think a better question is how long, like, for what period of time was Sasha not the Mothman in my mind? Very, very short period. Because you came to me and you said, I want to make a conspiracy theorist who loves the Mothman. And I thought, oh man, how am I going to make a Mothman that's going to live up to your imagination? That's such a big figure. Anything I do is going to be disappointing. And then I think very shortly after you came back with your conduit idea, the conduit of conspiracy. So you're always planning ahead. And Mothman is about, the Mothman legend is a creature who travels through time and delivers warnings of impending tragedy. For me, there was no other way. I don't know how a person would tell the story in a different way. It seems so obvious that I never really considered for very long that she wasn't the Mothman.
No, I did. I was bamboozled.
I'm glad to hear that. But yeah, it just seemed like the obvious thing to me. But for Lauren, from Shane at Toonie_Fox, what's Sasha's dad up to after the galaxy was saved?
Watching my Miami Dolphins football games.
So they never reconciled?
Oh no, I'm sure they've somewhat not actually apologized to each other, but in a roundabout way. And it's just, we're cool now. We see each other on Wormsgiving. It's fine. He's a little bit less of an asshole, hopefully.
Dawn, Sunken Sorceress at Saturn II Dawn asks, if Dreg used the flail on Cassius, would that have prevented him from going to the afterlife as well? No, it would have eaten his physical body, but his soul would have escaped. We saw this in season 1, when, spoilers, Jane died with Gorfanax's influence around, and then her ghost showed up. So it was established that that's not how that works, although when Dreg literally bound it to his soul, then it did eat his soul. But just getting hit with it would not erase your soul, which does not exist physically in the same place as your flesh.
Flesh.
Flesh. Proud Nerd at Chaos_AMO asks, Since the Maxwells have chains but are not sapient, that means non-sapient beings can be conduits too. It's a good question. So the chains are the connections between the world of forms and the physical world. So obviously the Maxwells have the chains and people have chains. The confusion here is that conduit is the name for when sapient people are connected with the world of forms. So they both have chains, but that's not what conduit means for them. Conduit just means when it connects to people. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Like conduit isn't an actual special thing in nature. It's just the word that people use for when the connection between people
It's a
and
connection.
forms. Yeah. So the Maxwells had the connection, but they weren't conduits because conduits just specifically mean sapient people. Starlight Glimmer did nothing wrong. At Arm McKitty asks, will Chris ever go a full season without making me cry at work?
I mean, if I'm still doing things right, then no. Right?
He wants to hurt you.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm like Harbinger in Mass Effect 2, where I look at you and I said, this hurts you, and then a little yellow beam comes out of my hand and hits you. Mm-hmm. That's an obscure Mass Effect reference for you.
Thanks, Chris.
Cosmignon at Cosmignon asks, are Sasha's eyes permanently fucked up now? Does she have big red eyes like Mothman?
Yeah, I think so, because that sounds dope.
She also asks, is Mothman still a real thing, or was it just future Sasha's ingenious plan?
Well, there are moth people that are men, presumably.
Yeah, the Lepidopterans exist, obviously, because I wanted to give you the gift of moth people.
Thank you so much.
But without the expectations one character would have had to carry. So the Lepidopterans obviously exist, but as far as people seeing a time-traveling thing with red eyes that warns them of danger before disappearing, that is Sasha. I don't think there's a separate Mothman in West Virginia, in whatever universe that is.
Yeah.
Sasha's just really, really obsessed with the fate of one universe's realities, West Virginia. There's something really important to the whole.
I keep going back to Harper's Ferry to get the frozen custard. It's really good.
Yeah. Eileen asks, what's the funniest moment of season 5 for you guys? That's Eileen at Eileen_Keat. K-E-I-T?
I can't really think of one. Were we a comedy podcast?
Sometimes it's hard to tell.
I don't remember us making any jokes.
I loved the back and forth between Big Star and Drake in the ship when towards the end where was it Chris was Big Star was asking about like
the rhetorical well, wasn't a rhetorical question.
It was on the way to the black site when Big Star was like, would you rather lose your dick or balls?
Like that's the moment where I was struggling to not like break throughout this. That was funny to me. Yeah.
It was good.
I think my favorite was actually in the credits when Austin said his tummy hurt.
I didn't put that in the show. That's a Discord exclusive. Is the
Oh no.
Because it's so shrill, it'd be really annoying to hear every week for the audience. But if you're not in the Discord, we were recording the credits, and there's a part where Lauren was making me laugh so hard I got a stomach ache, and I just like shrieked, "My tummy hurts!"
It was so
And
good.
I cut it out and put it in the Discord as an MP3. But yeah, that's not actually in the show.
Also, after Jacqueline died, and I was like, Ambassador Respect, are you here? And Chris just fucking ran with it.
Yeah. I mean, my boring answer is like literally anytime Chris gets to a certain level of volume, because that's when you know he's on his shit.
I want to know, Austin, did you have any plans for Ambassador Respect before you were like, oh, hey, I can't voice two characters in the same scene. Does anyone want to be this other NPC of mine?
So he was, not really plans per se. Like he was the representative of like the Solitaire government, because you guys didn't, if you had sided with Objectivist against Courage, you would have made an enemy of the Solitaire, and I would have introduced more Solitaire antagonists, like people who would have like chased you throughout the season because you killed one of them. But since you didn't, he was just kind of like the main representative of them as a peaceful political force. But no, I didn't have anything like a storyline planned that you ruined or anything.
I was so worried that it was going to be a situation where you're like, well, I did have some like larger scale plans. He had some speeches coming up that he was going to be a part of. And well, then you made him a trail mix loving weirdo. Who broke the solitaire's speech pattern that was established by every other one we met.
Yeah, he just talked really fast, so you couldn't tell.
I know what moment I found the most fun and wanted to laugh while doing was, and it was trying to have Leomora explain to Dreg that she'd realised the conduit, the wheel turn form was synchronicity, while clearly tripping on drugs and trying not to sound like it was just a drug trip.
Yeah, and Drake was like, "You need some water. Let me help you."
There was a lot of fun in going, how do I explain? No, wait, listen, Dreg. I worked it out. The whole universe is connected, and not in that I've just done drug sense, but it is all actually connected.
Sure you have, sure. Uh-huh.
Dreg played the straight man so well.
Can we stop to give credit to how astonishingly good Conrad was at playing Dreg?
I loved it.
You're disgustingly good. It's
I feel
astonishing.
like you get me.
Yeah, you played the straight man so well. It was perfect.
Aw.
It's such a fine line to walk, right? Because Drake could have easily just been like unlikable. And I think a lot of people were worried about that at the beginning of the season. And it's like, no, he knows what he's doing. He's got this. Hold on.
You played it as beautiful, dry humor. It was so enjoyable.
Oh, I wanted him to be kind of dull, right? And in the not, not quick on the uptake sense. He'll figure something out if he's given enough time to think it through, but if in a position where he has to respond to something immediately, he's probably going to miss it. And it's on the character sheet. He does not understand metaphors.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally on there. So anytime that somebody used one, I got to take the opportunity to slide something in. And so it was fun. I mean, I like playing straight men characters because it's very easy to do self-effacing humor when you get to let the jokes bounce off, and then other people get to be funny and like really shine when you're there to have that idea to bounce off of. So I love doing it. So I'm glad it worked in this context, and I thought it was fun.
I mean, I wouldn't be brave enough to do it. Honestly, braver than the us, as we've established. But I can cut this out if you don't want to, Laura. But this reminds me of a conversation we had about next season and about how playing the straight man can sometimes leave you without as much like drama as you'd want. Do you remember this conversation about how like Voltari was kind of such a messy character with all this backstory and stuff, and Frank's main motivation was like, I want to stop playing D&D, and Leomira's motivation is like, I don't want anyone to fight in D&D, and so like next season you're like, I really want to be a messy bitch next time.
Yeah, it was the thing that like I liked the motivation, say for Frank, as to why he got into the thing. It was like he wants money and he wants to be a better dad and he wants to be less chaotic so that he can get his kids back, which I thought was a really interesting start. But obviously, when you're trying to downplay and de-escalate every situation, which again was kind of a thing with Leomora, she wanted to de-escalate every situation and go, let's not have it all get chaotic. I want to keep all my family safe. It doesn't lend for the kind of chaos that I'm excited to get back to. Yeah,
which is what we were talking about with Conrad. It was like being the straight man can be kind of draining and thankless, and you feel like, oh man, I really wish I could do more or something. And it takes like a certain Conrad talent to really bring it home.
Totally. Like, anyone can do like what I did at the start of season 3 with Veltari, which is like, chaotic, wants to be a cool rock star. It takes something else to be like, I'm going to play a sensible character who has reserved motivations.
I don't know if I have the rage, honestly.
Next season's going to be fun.
Oh, yeah.
We can do a quick thing on the next season at the end here. I just want to answer like one, two more questions. Another Cosmignon joint. Cosmignon asks, all caps, what was behind the middle lab door, Austin?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what was in there, bitch?
So the entire first arc, the Fairmont lab, was loosely based on a classic D&D adventure from 1980 called Expedition to the Barrier Peaks. This was I think an AD&D, so first edition, basically, adventure module in which the party, which is like, classic knight, soldier, fighter, paladin, ranger, like, those kind of people, medieval people come across a downed UFO. It is basically the module which confirmed that illithids were from space, that aliens exist in D&D. It's where laser guns are introduced into D&D. This is in 1980, well before Spelljammer. So for me, that was kind of like the genesis of all D&D space stuff. So I wanted to pay tribute to it. So in Expedition to the Barrier Peaks, there are a bunch of aliens that are introduced. In addition to the illithid, there is the frog Hemoth, the big one, behind the big door. There are the mold people, the moldies or whatever you called them, that are behind the little door. I mean, the door stuff is mine. I split that up. But these are the aliens that are introduced in Barrier Peaks. And then there's the one you guys didn't see, which is a creature called the wolf in sheep's clothing.
Oh, no.
Which is often considered, if you like Google like worst or dumbest D&D monsters of all time, top 10 bad D&D monsters. The wolf in sheep's clothing is an alien, which is a bunny rabbit sitting on a log, like a tree stump.
And it's secretly a wolf.
Well, no, it's secretly you walk up to it and you're like, oh, a little bunny, and then the tree stump opens up with its teeth and bites you.
Oh, I love it.
It's like an anglerfish. Instead of having a little fish on a hook, it's the little bunny. But it doesn't make any sense. Why would an alien look like a bunny on a tree stump?
Yeah, they'd be like, where'd this bunny come from? Where'd this tree stump come from? We're in space!
Ranker has it as the number 19 worst D&D creature. But it's beneath Flump, so I don't really know. So
yeah. The Flumps are totally and universally disrespected. Season 3 was my attempt to rehabilitate them, and if they're ever popular again, it's directly our credit. So that's us. We did that. I'm putting a picture of the wolf in sheep's clothing in the Skype for the party. I guess us.
I like him. I want to be one.
So that was what was behind the middle door. But yeah, I wanted to pay tribute to the first module where aliens came to D&D.
Lol.
Why does its mouth have to be that, like, why is it
Yannick?
vertical?
Okay, if we had opened that door, is there any universe in which we could have recruited this thing to the party?
I don't think so. It doesn't speak any languages, and I don't know if it can move because it's a tree stump.
Hey, the Witchlight couldn't communicate either, and we got that to join the party.
It just makes me wonder, with that designer, D&D artists out in the woods, fucking tree stumps? I'm so confused.
Yeah, so naughty tree stumps aside, that was what was in the middle door, and I think that was a successful...
I don't like that.
You don't like him?
Yeah, good dodge. Good dodge.
I agree with Conrad. Don't like that mouth placement and positioning.
Yeah, it's a little Yannick. So there's a couple more questions here. A lot of them are duplicative, but we're running out of time. Is there anything you guys want to tease or talk about in regards to season 6? I've learned, doing this show for many years, that it's important to set expectations. We've talked before that it's Planescape, that it's the same cast, it's all of us.
Yay.
Yay, friendship.
We have at least one evil character, and I'm just going to tell you right now, more than one.
Yeah, well, they already know, I think, that I'm evil. Yeah.
Lauren spilled the beans.
I love to spill the beans, okay?
I'm chaotic good, but not in the kind of way that's going to stop me killing people. Like, you know how Goku is chaotic good, but, like, has done a bunch of murders?
I do know.
Like, you know, that like that. A little bit like that.
I described my character as half Brian Fuller Hannibal, half Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, but I always say I'm going to do something, and then halfway through the season, it fucking runs away with me. I have children now, so...
I can tell you that my character is by far the physically smallest character I've played by a very long way. For once, I'm not playing a very tall person.
How small?
3 foot.
Damn.
Yeah, they're very small.
That might be the smallest?
Quite possibly might be the smallest. I've gone from playing all the tall people to all the small people.
All the small people. Okay.
As far as expectations go, there can be evil characters, but I don't know if I characterize it as like evil season, because we've talked about this before in the Discord about it's hard to do evil season because you have to actually want to do evil, and that's hard to be likable and have any kind of goals that don't become gross.
I will say this is the season where the characters will probably have the fewest hang-ups about doing things that would traditionally get you onto the evil alignment section. Is that fair to say?
Oh, I think definitely. I just don't want to have people have the expectation that it's evil season or it's villain season.
No.
I think there's going to be a much greater variety of acceptable behaviors, but I
Yes.
do think ultimately that they're going to be working for some good in the universe.
Yeah, working for some good, but doing some actions that, like, our characters from previous seasons might have sat and mulled over. Is this really the right thing to do? Oh, I don't know. That they might be a little quicker to go, yeah, let's just go and do the action.
I think the thing that I want us to be able to bring across in the next season is that evil is a spectrum.
Yeah.
You know,
I just can't put the inspiration. I'm so sorry. Everybody watch Killing Eve. It's very good and it's very gay.
Yeah. So a lot of people ask for evil season or villain season, and I think that's more appropriate for a one shot. Where like, I'm going to go kill the hero of legend. I'm going to go steal the sacred artifact.
Yeah.
I think if you had to sit there and listen for 40 hours of people just trying to make the world worse, I think it would become unpleasant.
The only way to really do that kind of story is to start it off like it's a normal season or the normal sort of campaign. And over the course of the adventure, they become the bad guys, sort of like Breaking Bad. But even that was trashed by the last season. So, it's a hard thing.
Oh, well, throwing fucking hot takes out there like that.
I agree.
Okay.
Thank you. Someone has to stand with me.
I got you, Chris.
I mean, Chris, you say that, but that's literally what season 1 was. We started off like, we're going to help people. And then halfway through, I was like, I'm a religious terrorist.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, that's how you do it. You Trojan horse it in with good characters. And then at the end, you're like, oh, they're all monsters.
Look at the pretty flames.
I want to tease. I did one season where I wasn't a magic user. I'm going back to doing magic. I miss magic.
You hate saying I don't know what to do but attacking.
Yeah, I didn't like that this season. I was like, the only thing I know how to do is a shoot.
that's a big shift for me too. I won't be doing a lot of punching.
I'm predictable. I'm gonna be a warlock again.
I've been brushing up on all of my gamer slang for this season.
Okay, now we're getting into the stuff. I'll say for those who don't know Planescape, you don't have to do any research. I'll say this in the first episode then too, but if you don't know, Planescape is essentially all the afterlives of D&D. Like we visited Acheron this season. The season before we went to Mechanus. This season before we went to Carcerai. Like that. All those are the kind of locations we're going to be going to. The people who made Planescape, the man's name escapes me, but he described the setting as philosophers with clubs. That's the premise of it. As far as the content, if we give like a name to every season, as far as like the material, like we said, like season 2 was like the Wind Waker. Season 3 was kind of like a police procedural in a small town. Season 4 was Shadowrun. Season 5 is Spelljammer, basically. Season 6, in addition to being Planescape, if you need a quick way to refer to it, and I think this might be the last thing I'll say on this episode, unless somebody has any other questions. The way I've been referring to it internally is Assassin season.
I'm playing Ambassador Respect next season. You can't stop me. He's back.
Yes!
He's back, baby!
Content
And
we
he's
deserve.
a ghost!
I'm just going to play Travis Touchdown. There we go, done.
Yeah, I mean, it literally is the No More Hero season. I just didn't want to alienate people who hadn't played that game.
Like me.
Like me.
No More Heroes 3 got announced today.
Awesome. When are we going to do a Fire Emblem season? And a Magic Gathering season? And a Wire season?
Laura's back on Patreon.
Patreon.com/LauraKBuzz.
Go spend your money on Laura. She's amazing.
It's a website I enjoy. Patreon.com/LauraKBuzz. I go there.
All the time, every day.
Support her and her independent journalisms.
Journalisms.
Journal orbums. Gerbil orbital
Blah,
bubbles.
blah, blah, blah.
I'm going to call them Jorblorbs.
June!
Is that June?
It sure was, buddy. June!
2017.
Bitch!
2025.
No,
Season 12.
I don't know. I don't want to know what 2025 Lauren is up to.
Oh, we'll both be extremely dead.
Oh, well, that's nice.
But not from anything tragic. We'll have both flung ourselves into the sun. It'll be very funny.
Or like eating too much pie or something. Like that one possum in the donut shop.
Or lasagna.
Anyways, it's June. Wow. We have credits because it's June now.
It is. This is going to be the credits for both the finale of Season 5, the beginning of Season 6, and anything we publish in between. So it's a very auspicious credits. We better not ruin it by talking about dying.
Anyways, the executive producers for June 2019 are...
You don't have the list up, do you?
Bitch, I do. I was trying to give you the first name, but never mind.
Oh.
A Bozog blew my cover 5. To stay alive, we must kick into overdrive.
Is this going to be... Did they get together and make only Power Rangers references this month? Is that what's happening?
I don't know, but I did retweet the tweet saying we were contractually obligated to say anything they send.
That's self-sabotaging behavior. You really should talk to your therapist about that. A nudist druid, also known as a nudid.
It sounds like newted, like Pingu. A werewolf with a Chinese menu in his hand.
Aaron Palavin.
Abigail Grace.
Adrian Y.
Aftershock, conduit of a jumping spider with water droplet hat.
Aki Savalainen.
Albert West.
Aaliyah.
Alex Vepra.
Allison the Purple, conduit of unseen, half-finished fan art stash itself. Release them. Release the documents.
An otter fleeing from a relentless Roomba.
Oh, can you imagine the noises?
I feel like y'all think otters are a lot less hardcore than they are.
They're murder tubes. Andrew Birmingham.
Andrew Feje, conduit of causing infinite shame itself. Probably because I keep saying your name wrong. I'm so sorry.
Andrew Grothin.
Andrew R.
Andy Harkins.
Anna.
Anna, conduit of procrastination.
Same. Anthony, patron Adora.
Arachnivolt, keeper of the credit prison and sentinel of E3 hype. Fear me. George, you hear about the George R. R. Martin game from the makers of Dark Souls? Gonna be lit.
Oh.
You don't care.
Arcanist of...
Ralia, it's from the H.P. Lovecraft story Call of Cthulhu. It's a city where
On mine,
lies...
there's a little TM in the middle.
Well, yeah, it's because the conversion. You know this.
I know, but it just amuses me. Archibald H. Cactus.
That sounds like something you would name an animal on the show.
It really, really does.
Arja Limite.
Arjan de Koning.
Ash, the girl with the big gay for Lauren.
Hey.
Oh, no, don't encourage her.
Aubrey Hunter.
Austin New Yorkski. Oh, okay.
Austin Yorsky, conduit of Good Boy itself.
See, why can't everyone just acknowledge without trying? Austin! When is the next one shot? Isaac, conduit of Gavel, Gavel, Gavel. I mean, literally, this could be on this credit's going to be on the end of a one shot, so I feel like you played yourself, Isaac.
Austin, conduit of mentioning fingering one time and releasing the horny.
That was the seal. I broke it. Now everything's horny.
Now they know.
Backwards of conduit. Sparkle.
Beef Swellington, conduit of meat.
For the audience, I definitely just edited out a really gross noise I made thinking about meat.
Leave it in, you coward.
BJ, conduit of miniature giant space hamsters.
Before we continue, I gotta say, I got tiny nips.
I'm so glad.
That's not Lauren speaking, by the way.
I'm so glad you had to read that one. Benedict Cumbersnatch, conduit of cuke thievery.
Big fan of space, both outer and personal.
Yeah. Blue Six.
Bonus.
Booty full of snails.
Get the snails out of there!
That's not where they go.
Brent, still every episode of Dice Funk. Goatly.
You didn't read Brady, conduit of failed murder.
I'm done with his failed murder.
Oh, damn. Callum, fuck yeah, it's Pride Month. Turner. That also explains why Ragnar died in the finale. Spoilers for the episode you just listened to, is because there's no cops at Pride.
Hell yeah! Cameron Abbas.
Can anybody suck Lauren's dick, or is it invitation only, asking, and then it gets cut off, but presumably asking for a friend?
Listen, just DM me.
No, don't. Nope, it's not appropriate.
Everything's appropriate.
Candace, underscore listen to Dice Funk underscore Starling. And I probably should have pronounced those, but I was flustered.
Carried one.
Charlie Chalkley said, "Not for whom him's penis breaks, it breaks for thee."
Chris! Conduit of bad decisions, Walling.
Christ man.
Every time I do anything, that's Austin's response. Christ, man. Christopher Charlo.
Coho Blast.
Damn. Conrad's cat Clemens shows up to recording but can't even get a mention.
That's because Conrad's cat Clemens behaves, and unlike your goblins, doesn't shriek through every recording.
Hey, you would shriek too.
If I was trapped in your very bad house.
Hey.
You're a terrible, awful, no good house.
Corum thinks that Harbor Master is a brilliant sci-fi webcomic.
I can't dispute that, so...
Cosmignon Conduit of Stardust.
Oh, it's one of those, huh? Counterfeit.
Sierra Saldana.
I also feel like you
Prophet
didn't do justice to Cosmignon Conduit of Stardust. You were just
I
trying to talk
know.
over me instead of appreciating the very good art.
Cosmignon knows I love her.
Sierra Saldana, Prophet of RN Jesus.
Q, I appreciate you. Yes, you. Cumber.
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 Dandy Snuff. Cumber.
Cumber.
Daria, Conduit of Pizza.
David, Conduit of Thanking Chris.
Dawning
Chris.
Frost. Chris.
Chris. Did you shake your fist at the sky when you said it?
Yes, I did not lie to you.
Dawning Frost.
Dennis Pancake Detlefson.
Devin, Conduit of Evolution.
Don Johnston.
Don't you know that Pornhub is a real thing, you degenerate? Seriously, is that a...
The porn on Tumblr was GIFs, so if you want to rub one out sneakily with no sound.
Dorian, Conduit of Devotion.
Dr. Tao.
Dr. Goatman.
Dr. Exis. Is it? Physics.
Dragon in the server room.
Dylan and Rill and the dog listening on a lazy Sunday morning, also dishes. You guys have a lot of dishes.
Dylan, Conduit of Big Skeleton Booty.
How would a skeleton even have a booty?
He's dummy thick and he's clacking, clacking, clacking.
Einar J. Kobolds are the doggos of D&D. Change my mind.
Kobolds are traditionally doggos, but D&D changed them to lizards early in their history, and it's a major departure from most lore.
Ecorn.
Did I change your mind? I feel like she's just moving on. Elder Brain, Conduit of Gooey Goo, Chewing, Fizz Whiz, Biz... Oh, no, they really got me this week.
That's why I let you do that one.
Wash Buzz Whiz, cause his fuzz.
Elder Dog. Oh.
They love to sleep. ElderlyGoose.com, Conduit of the Shameless Plug. Hold on. We gotta make sure that's not Tumblr porn.
Is it Tumblr porn? No, because Tumblr doesn't have any porn, so it'd just be regular porn.
Nope, it is a real site. It works, and it's not full of porn, so I checked. Good.
Eleanor Nonante sees Periton.
Elohim! Happy Pride!
Hell yeah! Elizabeth Jackalope.
Elusive Lily.
Fuck. Emma. Moose is neither rat nor fish. Horse, goat, sheep, rabbit, shark, hippo. I'm getting too big, but I'm just naming all the animals.
Emma Morant.
Indigo Van Dane. Van Dane.
Ennui itself.
Arwen the Logitech.
Ethan Lawrence.
Evie, Conduit of Triad, Elemental Pugilist.
Is that a video game?
Excellaris.
Hold on.
Never.
Oh no, it's a class for it's a D&D class.
Oh.
An Unearthed Arcana? Anyway, it's a magic punch.
Oh.
Okay, now go.
Extellaris.
Fabian got that dank.
Fire me out the sun gun straight into the sun.
Pew. Florian H.
Francois V.
Frank Sands.
Grimlock.
Guinevere Cummings.
Half-Thor Granderson, first of his name, born of fire and brimstone redeemed.
Harley Astor.
Harrison Andrew.
Harry, Conduit of Dying for Objectivists.
Bitch me too, the fuck.
It was almost everyone in the finale. Can you believe he survived? I guess there was only a 10% chance of him getting shot, but can you imagine?
We wouldn't be friends anymore.
That's fair. Hedron Master.
Help! The pigeons are conspiring against me.
They would do that. Hey, you. Yes, you. You're valid. Jerry F.
Hi, Jerry.
Hi.
Oh no, him penis broke, but I don't care because him butthole works.
Oh god, I'm so glad you're getting to read all those kinds tonight, huh?
How do I make friend? Regards, conduit of social faux pas.
Hunter Howland.
Hustle bones.
Ian Morgan.
If you ain't a Christian, I'ma stab you in the face. If it ain't, but...
I feel like I'm being tested on my hip-hop lyric knowledge. This is like the third time. Ingmar Gremmen.
Ink drop, conduit of ooze. I ship the both of you.
Isaac, conduit of Tux the Penguin.
Who is Tux?
That's all she cares about now. This is going to be the next 5 episodes. Congratulations.
I can't read the next one because umlauts.
It's just it's nonsensical characters.
It looks like kayak, but in like spooky text.
Jade's 7 sexy snake sisters.
James Neely?
Was that a question?
I did it like that on purpose.
Janiac, conduit of ensnared by tentacles. Fucking hell. You want to... Can you...
Do
you
you
want to
need
read?
me to take this one for you, buddy?
Yeah, dog, please.
Janiac, conduit of ensnared by tentacles, oozed on and rubbed vigorously.
Jared, conduit of, well, actually, mansplaining.
Jaspel, conduit of fluffy pride. Hell yeah!
Jay Logan, conduit of queerness itself.
Happy Pride!
Jayish Wizard, the Wizard of Jay.
Jealous goddess.
Jess.
John Kerry, but not that one.
John Potts.
Johnny's number 3 fan.
Obviously, Leon and myself are 1 and 2.
Oh.
John Barnett, conduit of always trying to catch up, but never quite. Never quite making it, I assume.
Joseph Tombrello.
Josie, conduit of the dragon hatched next door.
Jewman Jack.
Julian Phillips, conduit of Kaizen.
Just a jester.
Justin, conduit of pain you cause only makes me stronger, Austin.
Jorgen knows how to pronounce Edderkop in Norwegian. I was still right about it being a Hobbit thing.
Check the tapes. I supported you. I'm not getting owned on this one.
You're always getting owned on everyone.
Caster UK.
Kate, conduit of semi-regular regret. Right there with you, buddy.
Kiefer Lowe.
Keith, conduit of Prozac. Oh my god, same.
Caladri, she who dreams of the fiery queer revolution.
Ooh. Killer Automat.
Ken, conduit of finally writing this goddamn PhD dissertation.
Kentauroy. Kentauroy?
Kevin Dobbins.
Kidney, a beholder in a snazzy hat.
Spoilers for season 6 character. Killer Cotton Shizno.
Kaneko fan.
Kitty Foe.
Not thing.
Kodiak and Luke Albuquerque, conduit of good belly rubs.
Christina, conduit of gay, trans, lepidopterans, and bozlogs at Pride.
Kicks and flaps for everyone.
Hell yeah.
Criterion, conduit of Caleb is my boy.
Kyle Basvik.
Kyle, president of the Drop Goodwood fan club.
Lana Seawolf, Lady of Bones.
Lawrence Duckling.
Lauren Cates, conduit of a moist, fleshy, pulsating Maxwell slug bozog.
You got to say all the words you like.
Okay, hold on.
Loki, tattooing no regrets.
Is Moose a cactus?
That would be quite a plot twist if Moose was a cactus.
This would be a real bamboozle.
Ludovico Limited.
Luke Powers.
Luther the villain, conduit of insolence.
Joe.
The Cult of Gorfanax.
Master Ink dreams of electric sheep.
Matt Collier.
Matt Lackett is grateful for Dice Funk and New Century. 2 excellent podcasts.
I like how even when we know what they're trying to say, we cut it off dramatically.
I think it's good for the jokes.
Matthew B. Hare.
Matthew Schultz.
Maximum Side Boob 4, son of Side Boob. Chris, is that you?
The set does sound like Chris.
Uh-huh.
Majin, conduit of binging 20 episodes to catch up with the finale.
It would shorten the amount of time you're in agony from all the sadness.
Oh, that's true. Mel Bent.
Melissa, conduit of loving Joel.
Melissa Nielsen.
Mel Tyke, conduit. You want to just start the credits over?
No, I'm on fire, bitch.
Mel Tyke, conduit of bad jokes.
Michael Groman? Nobody knows.
Michael Hall. It's Michael Hall.
Michael Minkler, conduit of Fisher Fisher?
I think it's Michelle Minkler.
Oh, that makes sense. Michelle Minkler, conduit of Fisher Fritz Fished Fish.
Midlife Stasis.
Mike Draws.
Miko from Finland.
Miles and Rose, conduits of yin and yang.
Modified Matthew.
Morgan Rapp.
Mr. Willie, Phoenix Steven, Lesbian Seagull, Pooh Bear Shaker.
My personal favorite patron. He tricked me. My personal favorite patron, Matt Luce.
Patron.
Patron. I'm sorry.
My Valentine is Postmodern Artist Cy Twombly.
Namita Aneskins, conduit of failure itself.
Nathaniel Homan.
Nicholas Dominic.
Nicole Woodruff.
Nina Person.
Oh, I asked him to eat that. Ashley's a fucking knife.
Paye Robjerg, or is it Palais? You're Paye now.
We're not renaming people, we're just American. Pangolin is shook.
Paul Mullen.
Pineapple.
Pixel Fool.
Please call me Ashley. Yes, just Ashley.
Pocket Sundial.
Preston Bowers.
Professor Hisbin Fizzlebang.
Philosophy, yeah.
Philosophy, goddamn. Professor Hisbin Fizzlebang. Philosophy of Hallucination Department at Shardpoint.
If you listen closely, you can literally hear us getting stupider as we lose our literal ability to read in the middle of the show. Pruitt Holcomb.
Puck, conduit of large ambitions but poor follow through. Puck, how did you get in my brain?
Random, conduit of Would You Like a Hug?
I feel like we need one now.
I do.
Rezumi Azura.
Robert Dakin.
Robert E. Baker definitely forgot to change his username last month.
Reminder, we try to record after the 5th. On the 5th is usually when the Patreon stuff updates, so...
Rowlet uses roundness. It's super effective.
It is effective on me.
Yes.
Ryan Power.
S. Kearney, wait, they got me. S. Kearney, Hodgeheg Space Warlock.
That's another one. I'm going to start calling them Hodgehegs.
I like Horcheg best.
Salad Child.
Sam Stanowitz.
Sean Lyons Burke.
Sean, the host of Funked Up Plays.
Simmons, conduit of Harder Slatty.
Shane Sedgwick.
Shard Point is bees. Bzzz.
Shane Ware, check out Embalmed Apple to support a new creator.
You're going to have to listen to the credits with like a notepad so you can just take notes of everything everyone's recommending in here. Shocking Link, Yeater of the Concept of Concepts.
Sin Milk Todd. Tom. Sorry, I got it.
That's my porn
Sin
name.
Milk.
Sin Milk Tom. No explanation needed. Sir Octopus, conduit of chivalrous cephalopods.
Socialism is party cohesion and Soviet power.
Space Ogre is Star Shrek. How did we go 38 episodes and not make that joke?
What's wrong with me?
We fucked up.
Squid Cap, the conduit of titty-loving gremlins.
That's just you.
Oh, well, I'm very vain, so I love other titties in my own. Wow.
Starlight Glimmer did nothing wrong.
Did she, though?
I have no idea. I think it's a My Little Pony thing.
Stefan Lund, the greatest stain, conduit of the great stain.
I don't know where that accent came from, but I was really into it.
I just felt like rolling my R.
Sternad, conduit of consonants.
Sure are, buddy. Sydney Marsing.
Cyretha says everyone should watch Tuca and Birdie on Netflix. See, it's nothing but recommendations. This is the replacement for Word Funk.
Tales of Inquiry.
Tara, conduit of terrible pun. Fuck.
I love it. The cast of Dungeons the Gathering.
The murderous penguin who secretly lives in your sock drawer.
The Possum Kingdom Liberation Insurgency.
The Precursor.
That sounds like a horror movie.
It is. It has to
Oh,
be.
it is?
No, I have no idea, but one assumes.
Oh, the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Marietta, Georgia.
Tim Lutton.
Toby Gleason Stack.
Toshiro Kuru, conduit of knowing better than to question Lauren.
Finally, somebody.
Lauren's been looking her whole life for you. Toshiro Kuru, someone who
Validate me.
Exactly. Shut up and listen.
Trace Marsing.
Transient passerby.
Trevor S. It's my 21st birthday. Can't get a yeet. Yeah.
Yeah, yeet.
Yeah, yeet. Yeah. Happy birthday. Get drunk.
Or not. It's up to you.
Unless you take medication or you don't like alcohol and then eat a lot of cake or whatever it is you like to do.
Just do crack like a normal person.
Whoa.
Shyness.
Vigar Arnston.
Victoria Melita, conduit of quietness.
Victoria Valentine.
Vinny, conduit of eating too many edibles.
We've both been there.
Busy Huggles, keep up the great work, y'all.
Vulture King Mike, conduit of putrescent rotten flesh.
Oh, I'm glad you got that one. Renshi, now that introductions are done, how are you? I'm going to be honest with you, Renshi. It's been quite an ordeal recording this one for some reason.
I'm having a great time.
I'm happy for you.
Zephosaurus.
Yeah.
Z23619.
Zoltar, the Viking death metal caterpillar, conduit of retribution.
I want to meet this caterpillar.
Caterpillar.
I forgot to say caterpillar for a second.
It happens.
Zun and you. Thanks for playing.
And we did it. That's June 2019 for the show. The people who make it, you're probably asking, how can I support them? Well, it's simple. There's patreon.com/lawyerkbuzz. That's where she is. She's back on Patreon. She left the site that we will no longer name to support them. I don't know if that's reasonable
I'm
or
sure
not.
it's fine, but she's not there, so do we care?
Yeah,
No.
it's not in our interest anymore to even say their name. It's patreon.com/lawyerkbuzz now. She's doing live streams, she's doing articles, she's doing podcasts. Or, you don't have to look or listen to any of it if you just want to give her money. That's fine too. Honestly, no one's checking. There's not Patreon cops.
Yeah, just give her money. It's cool.
Yeah, I'm at patreon.com/Austin Yorsky. You know what it is. Patreon.com/ofhorse. That's Conrad's project. Weekly Manga Recap is the name of Chris's. He recaps manga monthly. Patreon.com/Weekly Manga Recap. Sketch is bandcamp.sketch.com/sketch _sketch.bandcamp/
Camped up and, yeah.
plus
dot.
minus sketch.
I'm here sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do anything, but you can just send me money if you want to.
Yeah, the description of this episode has the link, paypal.me/Rargalicious.
Oh, that's very thoughtful of you.
It's been in there for a while. You didn't notice.
I did, and I just keep forgetting to tell you I appreciate it, because
You bamboozled me.
Yeah, I notice things.
Uh-huh. I mean, iTunes is going away, so who gives a shit about iTunes anymore?
It is?
Google Play. You gotta keep up on the tech news, Lauren. This is our tech podcast. Yeah, iTunes is getting fucking owned.
There's cats, and we gotta talk about Conrad's cats, because somebody was very upset about it.
You can't download our podcast on cats. Google Play, Podbean, YouTube. There's a lot of places you can rate and comment and share.
You dial the belly like a phone, and then the cat plays the podcast.
Do cat bellies really need like a spokesperson? I feel like they're pretty universally enjoyed.
Well, I think a lot of people are afraid of being attacked, but you just gotta go for it anyway.
Lauren says, literally covered head to toe in scars.
Worth it!